Greetings, weary travelers, and thank you for making it to another episode of the Michael Pulaski Experiment. I know life's been a little weary lately, so I was listening to a little bit of what we did last time. It was a little boring. I want to make sure we kind of keep things upbeat. That's going to be my goal. But we have a lot of interesting points we made in the 2 hours we recorded last time, and now we have some time to kind of reflect on that. And, I mean, shoot, a week's gone by. And this is probably one of the most interesting times in human history that I could think of. So, top of mind for me is Kanye, man. Where's your head at that? I mean, everyone's talking about Kanye right now. Dave Chappelle flew out to see Kanye. Did you see that?
I did not see that.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, shoot, I'm a little
shocked.
I didn't work today. I didn't work today, so I was all over the internet today. So I'm ahead of you there. But when you get off, that's something to look into. Dave Chappelle flew out, and I mean, think of it what you will, but it looked a little forced. Kanye was pretty much just like Kanye recorded a video like a minute and 30 seconds, and he's like, Dave's here, make a smile, and Dave's like, it don't work like that. He's like, no, and he like kept pushing it. He's like, but like we need this, Dave, make a smile, and he's like, I don't really do that, and like everyone laughed, and he's like, okay, I'm out. So. It if anything, it showed to me that like Kanye's trying to like perk up everyone's spirits, but also like Dave showed up because he's like worried about his friend. So like you have like it's almost like at the bar where you have like that one person who's still kicking, they're like, still completely drunk, and they're like oblivious to what's going on. They're like, yeah, we're having a good time, and the one friend's like trying to DD him home. He's like, dude, reel it in, man, reel it in. I mean, do you think Kanye needs to step it up a notch? Or you think like this tactic's gonna work? I mean, or do you think he does need to maybe reel it in if he does want to be legitimately presidential or even be taken seriously? Maybe not for this presidential run, because some people said that this is Trump tactic, that Trump kind of did the hokey pokey with president. He stuck his elbow in, he stuck it out, he stuck it in. Now he's shaking all about for us. You think Kanye is doing what he should do to become president at one point?
You know, I don't know.
Yeah. Because that's what's running through my head. I'm like, is Kanye doing, like, he says he wants to be president, and I see he might not even want to do it this year. But is he setting things up to eventually become president at some point? If that's what he really wants to do. Or is he just trying to sell merch? Because that's, in the back of my mind, I'm like, this dude's just trying to sell merch, too. He's trying to sell albums. He's trying to sell whatever.
Yeah, but they said the same thing about Trump, right?
True.
You know, Trump was supposedly starting his like news media empire or something like that.
Yeah,
and that was the whole reason.
That never really took shape. And he hasn't. I mean, it might, but he hasn't had time to do that. I mean, I feel like as much as people say he's ignoring all the problems, it's like he's got a lot of problems, and I think he actually is trying to address some of them. But you know.
Oh, sure.
I feel like I say that and I can hear a million people's voices going, no, he's not. All right, well, you can think that.
Yeah.
I try to think.
Well, TDS is a real bitch, isn't it?
It really is, man. It, you know, I'm of the crazy notion of a person who tries to think my president's actually trying to do his job. You know.
Oh, yeah. I think they all try to do their jobs, you know.
True.
I mean, that's probably the worst part of a president is when they
That's
try
a good
to
point.
do their job.
That's a good point. Well,
as far as Kanye, okay, so being a moderate fan of Kanye since like the early 2000s.
Yeah, since graduation, his album.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can say that the man has always thought outside the box for nearly everything.
Oh yeah. You know? Yeah, he'll break paradigms when the paradigms are fine.
Right.
He gets antsy. He's like, different. I want to be ahead of, he just wants to be on the edge all the time.
Yeah. And even when he does something traditional, it's still in this own weird Kanye way. You know?
He knows his own brand. I'll say that. He definitely he wants to stay consistent to himself, whether we know what that is in his own head. And that's what draws me in from the entertainer's perspective. Is like the people who are lukewarm on Kanye, they see his body of work and it looks really Well, it looks really crazy. I was gonna look for a better word. It looks really crazy,
Right.
and I would even say he's not crazy or doesn't seem crazy. But to him, there's a certain consistency to what he's trying to do. In, I was gonna say benevolence is really the main thing. I really think the guy doesn't have a mean bone in his body. I think he's been greedy at times. I think he's wanted more than his fill. But I don't think he's ever I think he's always looking out for everyone. Almost, and I think that's almost a burden he wears. That's why he's like crying in the rallies and everything, is because I genuinely think the guy's out there just doing everything he knows he can do. You think that's fair?
Yeah. And I think that I think that it's very weird to let's talk about the crying thing. It's very weird to witness a man get real in a presidential rally.
Yeah.
Period,
oh yeah.
right?
No, that's unheard. Not in my lifetime. Not in my life.
So
emotion is never part. I was just gonna say emotion is never part of a presidential run.
Right.
It's always Yeah, it's always what I've done, what I have, what I can do. It's not about who I am, how I feel. It's never about that.
Right. Let alone him getting real. Like the clip that I saw, he was getting real about how his mom decided to not abort him,
and he was talking about his father, how his father wanted to abort him.
Yes,
that's when he started crying. Yeah.
Well, no. When he started crying was he said, "And my beautiful daughter."
Oh, that's right.
I almost demanded that she be aborted.
That's
I almost killed my daughter.
That's he made the
and he fucking lost it.
Yeah, that's when he started crying. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it was the connection. I think for him, it was the connection of seeing him becoming his own father. Actually, ironically, it's like he knew his dad wanted that, and like, just to outline it, it's like when he realized the same malevolent force that could have gotten rid of him, who he thought he'd never embody that, almost did. And like that I mean, that's like the heroic epic, becoming the malevolence that forged you, kind of. It's as old as Greek epic literature.
Yeah. Since I can't think of a smarter one, it's Luke going into the tree in Dagobah.
Exactly. Well, and his need to take his weapons in with him.
Vader, who ended up being him.
Exactly.
It's that.
It's exact, and it's you. What do I need? You take exactly what you take in with you. It's the whole concept is like you will only be as destructive as you already are. It's so. Yeah. I think Kanye's understanding that, and I don't know. I'm just feeling the need to answer my own question I asked you. Is I do think Kanye is actually doing the best job he can right now to become president, because I mean I don't know. Did you finish off your thought? Because I was going to get into a point here about what he's doing for his longevity as a presidential candidate. Because you'd mentioned
yes.
His rally.
Right. So I think, and I shot off a couple of tweets about this. I think that he's the only person running right now that has anything close to empathy, and he has.
I agree.
He has an abundance of it. And
he wants to show it too, because I would argue that, I mean, it's just Biden and Trump, so it's not like this is a freaking party of people, unless you count JJ.
Yeah, I was about to say all the 7 libertarians are reading.
I mean, actually, one thing we should do later is analyze Kanye from a libertarian lens, but we can do that later in the show. What do you think? Right. All right, we'll table that, but you mentioned empathy. That's a really good point, because especially now, a lot of people, even people well within their means, I feel like everyone's struggling in a different way, whether it's financially, whether it's socially. It's not a good time for a lot of people. Kanye's appeal to empathy is probably going to be very well received. And this, because I was going to talk more about his long-term effect of what it's going to do for not only his image, but his presidential image. But you're talking more about the short term. And I don't see. My question is Biden or Trump going to react? Are they going to have to adapt their playbook because of what Kanye's done. I mean, what's done is done, you know?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how much traction Kanye will get. Like,
well, when I'm looking at the Twitter volume, which Twitter is not real life, but it's a good bit of influence. To me, I look at Twitter's influence. It's not always action, but the influence it holds is, I mean, shit. Half the time on the news, they're pulling up tweets half the time anyway. So it's like, you're saying Twitter doesn't matter? Like, I feel like most journalists are getting their news from Twitter anyway before they go on air. So it's like Twitter almost is real life when you're only applying it to like the news sphere. I feel like
the political sphere.
Political sphere. That's probably a better way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, anybody who operates within political thought, other than like, you know, Gavin McInnes and Milo Yiannopoulos,
right? Unauthorized and banned TV, all those.
Yeah. You know, if you're there's a handful of right wing wrong thinkers that aren't on there, but everybody else is.
Yep. Well, and the funny thing is, I think that. Well, I don't know. I was about to make a libertarian point, but I'm talking to libertarians, so I'm going to shut the hell up. Because I was simply going to say everyone should have a seat at the table, and it should be their merits that determine whether they get an audience, not like... Right.
But,
Essentially,
you know,
essentially agorism, but...
yeah, but that's not the way Silicon Valley wants to operate.
No. If you have control, you must wield it, right?
What's the point of it?
All right.
You don't wield it, right?
Right. Why would you open source anything? There's no profit. There's no, whatever. We're gonna spiral. We're gonna spiral there into an agreement.
Right. So I guess as far as who needs to respond, what I see on Twitter is everybody seems to be worried that Kanye is going to be the Ross Perot of the Democrats.
Yeah. Yep.
Or
they were saying that even before he was, made his official announcement. They're like, don't let Kanye split the vote.
Right.
But one thing you're saying meant Ross Perot for the Democrats. The one thing I don't hear a lot right now, and I've been bringing it up as often as I can, personally and mostly personally, actually not on Twitter. I don't think I tweeted about it. Is the idea that he might take away from Trump voters because. I don't know. Like, to me, I'm not 100% Trump for this election, and if it's still up in the air, if Kanye makes the right moves and Trump makes the wrong moves, there's no reason why I don't see myself voting for Kanye.
Oh, I'm not voting Trump.
I didn't vote Trump last time. I'll put it that way.
I did.
Oh, you did. So we're in an interesting flip here. But
yeah. So I wasn't a libertarian then. I was just.
Ether. You're
yeah, I mean, I guess back then I wouldn't have called myself a normie Republican, but it was a defensive move.
Okay.
More than anything else.
Well, politically to identify, I can understand that.
Well, yeah.
Well, and you were not in Colorado at the time?
I was not.
So that makes a lot more sense.
I was, it very much felt like I was a part of the resistance in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, I was going to say, you definitely wouldn't want to be there right now. Actually, interesting little side question here is I'm sure you still have people living in the place you used to live. I don't want to previously dox you, but in the Pacific Northwest, do you have any friends right now that are kind of worried, or what have you heard? How about that? I don't want to lead you with a question.
Yeah, I mean, all of my friends are concerned, to one degree or another.
I mean,
I have some that are like straight up moving to Idaho. Let's say I have another one who is seriously contemplating moving someplace. He just doesn't know where yet.
I would be
right.
I think you got out just in time, actually.
Yeah. I mean, it's always felt bad, but not like, Soviet.
Well, I can't believe some of the stuff I see, and that's the thing is every time I see something sensational like that out of the Pacific Northwest, whether it was the Chaz thing going on for a while or any of that,
right. Or the fact that Antifa basically owns Portland. You know?
Well, and the thing is, I take it with a grain of salt because I realize that whoever's providing it to me, they're clipping it and they're doing everything that the mainstream does too to sensationalize. But with that aside, there's some crazy stuff going on, just from a human condition standpoint. Because really, I think the Soviet, wow, that was a weird flip. The communist versus whoever struggle, the individualist, however you want to break it down, that duality, which you could break it down a few ways. I think it really is like a personal struggle, and I didn't think we were that close to it, like you said, because I think you mentioned Soviet, right?
Right.
Exactly. It's like I didn't think we'd be that close. Like I realized that there was some issues, especially with the colleges and everything, but I didn't realize, and that's I thought it was more of a generational thing, but seeing it happen on the streets to me almost transcends the generations, because when it's a public gathering like that, it's not always necessarily just like one select group. When you go take things to the streets and you start, taking them over blocks, you need a little more unity than just a fringe group or two,
Yeah. And living in that area, it was, it's
it becomes more
shocking,
cultural,
but it's not that shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've never been out that way, so I can't say. Actually, for pre-2016, I thought Seattle, I thought it was a cool place to live. It'd been on my list of who knows, maybe I'll move there kind of ideas. But knowing what I know now, it's like it seemed like some progressive haven for a while, and obviously, progressivism does what it does best, and we're kind of watching that. It looks like.
Yeah.
It eats
and for a while the area was awesome.
That's what it looked like. People getting along. I mean, that's really the goal, I think, of most people is whether you are fringe or you think you're fringe. At the end of the day, you still want to feel included. So there are points to being a Marxist, being a communist that makes sense from a purely empathetic level. The problem is the way you utilize it, the way you do it.
But getting along shouldn't require force.
And that's the crux of what libertarians preach. So right. I don't know. Did you? I think that's actually a good segue, bringing up libertarianism. Do you want to analyze? And unless we had some points we were missing, I'm kind of diverting real quick. I was going to say we can talk about Kanye being a libertarian, or grade him as a libertarian. Based off,
I don't know how to grade Kanye.
Yeah,
from a political standpoint.
Yeah, I don't know.
There are two reasons why I like Kanye and why I'll probably vote for him, regardless of whether or not he's running. Just because, I like the idea.
I mean, I wrote in Ron Paul in 2012, so it's the only it's the only presidential vote I've casted.
Vote for anyways.
Okay, again, fuck Rand.
Rand's good.
He's not his father. No, he's not his papa. No.
Yeah.
No.
The two things that I like about Kanye is first of all, Kanye isn't an insider politician at all. He's not a politician.
100%. Actually, I would argue that he's probably less in the know than Trump is when it comes to those people.
Right.
He's completely outside.
He's completely outside.
I mean, and I would say that I was just going to make a point, is that by extension, his camp, whoever's in Kanye's camp, is also probably not that inside as much as Trump. Right. Trump's obviously is now, but going into 2016, I think Trump probably had some people that were more adjacent to a lot of the corporate or political interests we're referring to.
Well, right. I mean, just look at who Trump hired.
Right. Oh, yeah. Perfect example. A lot of CEOs. A lot of. I mean, what DeVos was? She was from. Shoot, I don't. But yeah, a lot of business interests. And people, quite frankly, I was surprised. It seemed like he didn't have a lot of trust for them initially.
Right. So I mean, So I think that, and I like where Kanye's head is at whenever he speaks.
No.
Usually, now the funny thing about Kanye is he's such a independent thinker that he'll say truths, but he doesn't say it in a way that you're used to hearing, and it certainly not from a politician. But he says things in a way that you're not used to hearing from an intellectual, right? And
Oh yeah. No, he very Trump. He's trying.
Yeah. He has this like shorthand that he does.
Yep.
Especially when he's talking about Black history, where you actually have
there's
to
montages of that.
Yeah. You're like, oh my gosh, Kanye's actually right.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, and there's a few people that I think really ride off Kanye's coattails, at least that I follow on Twitter. Hotep Jesus has been really riding the Kanye wave heavy right now. Right. He was talking about the whole what Kanye said about Harriet Tubman, and he's tweeted like 3 different things today about that. He's like, when Kanye said Harriet Tubman never freed the slaves, I felt that. And the thing is, that tweet got a lot of traction from Hotep, at least from his community. But to me, what that's like, it's funny, like the almost double entendre there is. Well, I don't know if it's double entendre, but the double meaning there is, in that if you're trying to demonize Kanye or the message there, you're going to instantly take things literally. And you're going to be like, what do you mean he didn't free the slaves? Are you saying that everything we stood for is a lie? I mean, if that's the only thing you could take from it, yes, I'm a demon. Right. I'm a demon. Look at my horns. I vote, you know.
Right. Well, and Michael Malice has saying when he talks about the corporate press, and that's, they say things. Oh man, I just had it. They are correct but not truthful.
Oh, yeah. I've heard that. It's splitting hairs. Actually sounds like something someone else said. Go ahead.
Yeah. The idea behind it is they're technically accurate,
right,
while being untruthful.
Right. Well, to me, it's the idea of like winning in a dickish way. It's like, okay, yeah, you won, but no one's happy that the game's over.
Well, yeah.
It's kind of that.
That's the other part of things. Like,
it's like dunking on a child. It's like dunking on a child. You're like, oh, okay, like you achieved the goal of getting the ball in the hoop, but did anyone grow from the experience? That's the issue.
It's not even dunking, because
you're right.
What it is it's.
I searched for metaphors. That wasn't a good one.
Yeah, I mean it's a way to cheat with the conversation while still being technically correct.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No, it is kind of cheating conversationally. It is disingenuous if you're trying to find agreement, because to me, taking that stance, you're almost looking for closure.
Well, and what you're not doing is you're not sharing information.
Okay. Yeah. You're not.
What you're trying to do is you're trying to reframe things so that people believe the way you want them to believe.
Yeah.
You know, that's the other reason why, you know, it's not a bias, it's an agenda.
Yeah.
And they definitely have an agenda against Kanye.
Yeah. And I think the only reasons why so many people have an agenda against Kanye from all facets of life, I mean, from the fans to the people who are his peers, essentially, is they know they can't control the guy. I personally think that the one reason I'm all for Kanye is the guy's so crazy. There's no way anyone's controlling him. Like that's the one thing. That's the one thing that's a guiding light for me to actually support the man. He's done like. It's funny because people are like, you support Kanye after he did this, after he did that. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of why. because, he's not always graceful.
Oh, he's not graceful.
I mean, I love his Taylor Swift thing. I hate Taylor Swift. So, like, to me, like, people are like, can you believe what he did to Taylor Swift? I'm like, yeah, fuck her. Dumb bitch. She might deserve that. Fuck. So I'm glad someone said it. Like,
yeah.
Jeez Louise. I mean, in that scenario, it was about Beyonce, so it's like, that wasn't a good example. But he does all these tasteless things, but you talk about the idea of not having an agenda and being true, that's Kanye. Like, if he had an agenda, he wouldn't be so dumb all the time. He's just doing he's saying what he feels to be true.
Well, but again, he's not dumb. He just says things in a way that is well, you know what it really is?
What's that?
It's like he's saying things as he's working through ideas and concepts and stuff like that. He almost expects you to also have been gotten the same information that he has, so he doesn't need to let you know that as soon as the blacks were freed and they weren't slaves anymore, their lives actually got worse. He's almost. He's
glossing over it too.
He's speaking about it. He's almost assuming that everybody knows this.
Mm-hmm.
So he can just say that hey, we weren't actually freed.
Yeah.
We basically went from one bad situation to another bad situation.
The funny thing is, you think most woke activists would be all about that mentality. Like if you're truly this woke activist and Trump. Oh wow, that was an interesting Freudian slip. Kanye would be like, hey, the better Trump 2.0, Black Trump.
Black Trump.
But hashtag Black Trump. We'll start that. So wait, what was I about to say about Kanye? Shit. Nah, I got lost in Black Trump. Laughing at my own joke. Kanye, oh man, I lost it. Well, it's all good.
I did see the tweet that Hotep Jesus put out that said that Kanye thinks I'm paraphrasing here, of course. It's something like Kanye thinks at a level that most people won't be able to get.
Yeah, he did say that.
And I think it's mostly because of that dynamic that when Kanye is speaking, especially when he's speaking extemporaneously and off the cuff.
Yep.
And he's trying to make a point on especially one of his big things is freeing your mind.
Mm-hmm.
When he starts making those points, he doesn't. It's almost like
Kanye's talking to Kanye. Kanye's talking to Kanye.
You're right.
Because
maybe he doesn't even think that he really has an audience as much as he's just sharing what he's working on.
But here's why I think there's a genius to Kanye. And really, a lot of people. This is kind of the Trump tactic too. Is what I like calling it, the Trump tactic of like what you're talking about, talking extemporaneously, talking to audience off the cuff, where you get the feel. You're kind of judging it's kind of reading a room too, because I think Kanye's good at that. Obviously, being a concert, he's good at reading a room and providing them what they want. But he is talking to himself because as he's talking to these people and he's judging their reaction. A lot of times I see him talking about the own inner demons he has conquered or has been working to conquer.
Right.
Like one of the perfect examples, he talks about homesteads all the time. He wants people to get out and buy land. It's like, why? Because Kanye bought land and Kanye's trying to do that. So he's literally projecting on people. But I don't see that as a bad thing. I think that's what a lot of people do in conversation. Just Kanye makes it a little more obvious. How about that?
Yeah,
he doesn't.
He's also a promoter, and because like naturally,
Yeah, well, that's how he's made a living. He's not the best musician. He's not but he is an incredible promoter.
Right. I think he's a good producer too, but
I agree. I love his music. But that's the thing. I'm used to ceding this ground on people because there's a lot of people who they'll hate on one angle of what he does to attack others, and I'm not a fan of like that conversational tactic. But I'm used to it happening all the time, especially like what's funny is I saw a reply on I forget which tweet it was Kanye had, but he said something. I remember when the movie Get Out came out, he said the movie Get Out was about me and my family, and like someone replied and was like, Kanye, you need to chill for us stans. It's like, we can't keep up with your own hype for yourself, man. We can't keep defending you from like all the hate mobs because you're talking mad shit, man. Like if you keep talking yourself up this high, like we can't defend you. And that's what he does. He sees the goalpost, he pulls it closer and dives for it. He's not even thinking about strategizing. He just goes for it a lot of times. Right. That's why I think he is Black Trump. Is like he's that guy where there's a do not press button. He's the first one to touch it because he's just like, someone had to do it. You know, yeah. It's that impulsive nature I think both of them have. And I mean, like you were mentioning before with the empathy thing is, would anybody else but Kanye be bringing that level of emotion to a presidential run? I don't think so. And I think it's because of his impulsivity. And I don't know if actually I'm looking back at that rally. I'm wondering if Kanye planned to do that. Do you think he might? I
don't know.
Really?
I do not know the man.
Yeah. Well, right. I'm not saying.
So I don't know.
As a fan, do you think he planned it? How about that? Because I would say I'll steel man say I don't think he planned it. I think that it happened off the cuff, and he might be looking back going, maybe I shouldn't have cried.
I don't think so, especially when he's all broken up about it, and he's trying to regain his composure, and he says they're all gonna tell you I'm crazy.
Yeah.
Which,
But I mean, the man has been called crazy for so long anymore. Is like his paranoia is literally manifested at this point. Is whatever. Okay. Like whenever you have these manic episodes and everything, there is paranoia that is normally delusional and fake. But it's ironic because he is having. Obviously the man has had, and I would imagine he is having now some manic delusions. The interesting part is I would say there's not many other people who their manic delusions are so close to reality, though.
Right. Well,
he talks about Jesus and God all the time, all this imagery of power and all this. It's like he's getting to exactly. He did the song Gold Digger, now he's got Kim Kardashian. The man is prophetic for himself, though.
Yeah. I don't think that Kim had to dig for any gold necessarily,
No, but the thing is, she is a gold digger. That's all I'm saying. She whether she's digging. Actually, if anything, I would say the union of Kim and Kanye is it's hermaphroditic in nature. If you go back to the Greeks, Hermes and Aphrodite. They you have the idea of a hermaphrodite. I'm going nerd here, but everyone was frustrated because Hermes and Aphrodite, they banged all the time. They're like, so what Zeus got so frustrated, like the way I'm giving the modern rendition, but like you open a closet, there's Hermes and Aphrodite banging it out. Zeus punished them by being like, all right, well, I'm going to fuse you together for a while to teach your lesson. But the thing is, the concept of Kim and Kanye is that they're so both invested in their own egos that I think they actually have created like this hermaphroditic legacy for themselves that I don't know. Do you think that they're good for each other? How about that? Because I think that in a weird way they are. I don't think anyone else could provide to them what they're trying to create in a nuclear family for each other, whether it's an aberration or not.
I think that they're good for each other.
She definitely stabilizes him.
Yeah. And he also, he's shared, things about her photo shoots and stuff like that that say, hurt him as a man.
Yeah.
Which is
But again, he doesn't run from the issue. He doesn't run from the issue. Right. Someone asks him the question, he sits there and he thinks about it and he gives an answer. Like,
yeah.
He's not a politician like Trump, where he's gonna like sit there and figure out how to dip, dodge, and dive the question.
Right. Nor does he give the cultural answer. You know.
No, you're right. He gives the Kanye answer, his personal answer. Yeah.
Right.
That's what's interesting. Well, that's why a lot of here's an interesting point too. You mentioned the cultural answer is there's a lot of black people I've seen on Twitter that are saying Kanye is no longer of the culture. They've been saying that since he put on the MAGA hat, but I'm saying that notion has continued that Kanye is no longer of the black culture. He's no longer a part of the tribe.
Yeah, I think that
obviously neither of us are black, so we can't speak on that, but.
Right.
We have no room to speak.
Man, I of course can.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I misidentified your race.
I mean, within his within his gospel album, he has a line, "No more living for the culture."
Yep. No, he does address it outrightly.
Like I don't think that he. I think he views the culture, which I'm not sure if he would necessarily call it the black.
He's referred to the plantation. He's referred to the plantation.
Right.
At least that imagery is very divisive. I'll say that.
Certainly. Well, yeah, and the thing about all of the hood things that are desired. He's talked about that for.
Oh my gosh! Since the beginning. Since the beginning. Yeah, since the beginning. I'm trying to think of a few lines. I could have had them ready. There's the one he said, if I spoke to God or something, I would wake up and he's like, if I like went to heaven, I'd come back, and like something about the money. He's like, the first thing I'd do is buy a chain. Like even addressing, he's like, even if I had this like divine experience, the first thing I'd do is go and just waste my money.
Right.
And he's like, and that was, I think, Graduation. I forget what song, but to me, that's like really interesting introspection, especially like you mentioned, giving the cultural answer. When you're making a rap album, that's not what your publicist would recommend.
Right.
It's like he's definitely, and that's why there's a punk rock element to Kanye in that. I think some punk rockers might get upset that I say that, but there is he looks at what is being done and goes, this isn't what's actually happening. I got to call it for what it is.
Right.
And there's almost like a I don't know, like I was gonna say, like a snowball of these rappers that feed off each other in particular, and even you have, it's not even exclusive to black rappers. Like you have like the all these white rappers. It's more about just the flashing money and everything. That culture, whether it's white or black. And Kanye's like, I'm all about it. For one, Kanye's like, I'm all about doing that, but it's not good for us. Like, let me take a second to mention how it's not good for us, but I'm gonna be the king of it. And
there's kind of a King Solomon aspect to it.
Yeah.
Of it, where it's like, hey, I've been there. And it's good.
Yeah.
But it's unfulfilling. And
still,
some of it's harmful.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I do think that, well, the one thing you could say about Kanye is he's definitely had some lows. It's hard to take moral advice from anyone who's never had a true low in life.
Right.
And that, at the end of the day, I think we can buy into his morality because of that. Because he's made so many boneheaded mistakes and had to scrape with worn out tools at what he is for himself, not only for like us as a society, but for himself. And
right.
So I don't know. I feel like we should probably wrap up Kanye. This has been a decent segment on Kanye West so far, but I think it's definitely an important zeitgeist in the news right now, especially Americans. And the thing is, I think a lot of international people are going to look at the Kanye situation with great entertainment value.
Oh yeah. Well, this whole
they love
cycle will be entertaining.
Oh yeah. Oh, I knew it was going to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they already love Trump. The thing is, my favorite left-wing thing is they're like, we're the laughing stock of the world. And it's like, yeah, but the world is the laughing stock of the world. Like, you see the freaking African president or prime minister or whatever? He was literally giving out Hennessy bottles to his people.
No, I missed that.
Yeah, that was like right in COVID. He like right when we started giving our stimulus checks out, the dude was like in an Adidas jumpsuit. He had the mask, he had it like on his neck, and then he had like one of the plastic face shields on, and like he was addressing, and he said it in English. He was talking English. He's like, we will be giving Hennessy out to everyone, like those little friggin' like mini bar bottles, giving out mini bottles of Hennessy to the people.
Oh, okay.
But it was
okay.
But that's the thing is like I'm just saying the world laughs at the world because the entire world does dumb things. So to single out and be like, well, now that Trump's in office, the world's laughing at us. It's like they've been laughing at us since we left the UK for being. They were like the UK was too imperial, and then we became our own empire, and like the world's been laughing at us since that. So it's like if we're gonna run and hide every time someone laughs at us, we're not being American for one. Second off, don't make it exclusive to Trump. So like,
yeah, and that's much more empathetic empathic than I get whenever somebody says we're the laughing stock of the world,
yeah,
because I'm not the most patriotic guy, but boy do I get patriotic when I get lefties coming at me with the world.
Oh yeah,
I'm like,
oh yeah, yeah. I that yeah, the lines. Yeah, where else do you want to go? That's my thing. It's like
move to Canada.
Well, here's the thing.
It's like Europe.
I've got the silver bullet. I've got the golden gun, man. I've got the golden gun. I've got the silver bullet, and I hate using it. But some lefties just need to get put down. And I was born in Venezuela. I literally was born in Venezuela. Did I suffer? Right. Like we talk about Kanye suffered. Like my parents dealt with shit. I was a baby, but I can say conversationally to lefties, and they'll dig their own grave. They'll talk about all this shit. The world's better. Yeah. Everything's better outside. I'll just let them talk. And then I'll say, well, I was born in Venezuela. Would you rather go there? They're just
yeah. My family escaped.
Right. I say, and you know what's the best line? And it's true. This is why it's the best line. Is I say, luckily, my entire family has made it stateside.
Nice.
And they got nothing to say to that.
Right.
They got nothing to say. Because it's true. I mean, God bless the fact that my family was able to come here. I mean, really, because had my father not gone down there and married my mother, obviously I wouldn't exist, but my mother's side of the family, they'd be stuck in Venezuela, probably dead, statistically, if you look at it, or completely screwed, one way or the other.
Yeah. Well, their life would be very hard.
And if anyone knows the swan song of the Venezuela, was definitely leftist. The funniest thing I see is people try to bring up the Venezuela story and be like, well, they were fascist. I'm like, well, they kind of did some fascist shit, but that's kind of the horseshoe theory of fascism and communism, is that once you go so far into one, they kind of start to blur into each other.
Right.
The whole idea of Antifa, is the same idea. Antifa, their tactics are fascist. It's all bully mob tactics.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it all depends on which definition of fascist you're using, right?
It's true.
I mean, most people just use that as a shorthand for totalitarianism.
Well, I learned a lot more about the Nazis. Well, I learned more about how the Nazis came to power by studying a little bit. I really could sort of stand to learn more, but on how Mussolini came to power in his brown shirts. Yeah. And they literally won political battles with fisticuffs. They'd go in, and there were at the time they'd be Leninists, but there were Leninists in Italy at the time, and the fascist brown shirts would literally go in and just beat the fuck out of them. They wouldn't kill them; they just beat the fuck out of them. And then they're like, right. Are you brown shirt now? Are you part of our tribe?" I'm like, "Yeah, fine, sure, fuck, okay. We're just gang members. We're just fighting. We don't care what sleeve we got on." And it's funny, like that worked to me. That idea of martial force to proselytize your ideology, that to me is fascism at its core. And that's the ironic part of making Antifa because exactly what they're doing, to me, by that definition, what I consider fascism is completely juxtaposed.
Right.
I mean, do you buy what's your definition of fascism? Because that's how I see it.
Oh, being a libertarian, I define these systems off of their economic system.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And so I don't have a ton of utility in the totalitarian part of things, because I just view totalitarians as all the same.
Okay, that's fair.
So what a fascist is someone who uses the state to pick winners and losers on the market, yet still allows for private ownership of the means of production, to use the Marxist term. So what that ends up happening is there's a whole lot of cronyism,
right? But they don't hide it like they would in a communist regime.
Right. And a whole bunch of corporations get to choose. Corporations then are incentivized to buddy up with the government,
right?
So that they can have the government, take down competition, which
which ironically, I was just to say, in at least Nazi Germany sense, it kind of worked. It wasn't
right.
fair. It was not a fair, free. It wasn't a free market. I'll put it that way. But
right.
It was an effective imperial market.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, even those companies and corporations that are buddy with the government, the government has the ultimate say on how they operate their business.
Well, if you look at the East India Company, like that's a case study right there for the idea of crony capitalism, or whatever you want to consider, buddying where the corporate agenda completely overlaps with the state agenda.
Right. Well, and so this is where I'll completely agree with the lefties, like even, the Marxists.
Yeah.
In that I agree that America is a fascist state, because
in that definition, I would agree.
It follows all of those definitions.
Silicon Valley being a bad example of it too, I would say.
Well, yeah, and the funny thing, I think, is whenever they say, well, America is fascist, and I go, I agree, that's why we need to deregulate, that's when they spurg out. Because my argument is, if you don't want fascism, you basically have two choices. You either try to change your let me back up before I say that.
I'll take your time.
The other part of things is, because we're talking about ultimately government control over the means of production. We're talking about socialism. It's just socialism in a different form,
right?
Where the profits of the state chosen companies get to stay under normal situation. Those profits get to stay with those shareholders and owners.
Right.
But if they go against the government's will, the government has ultimate veto power, meaning the government has ultimate control.
Right. Well, and it to me, that disincentivizes the whole idea of profit seeking, if the state has the final say.
Right. I mean, it corrupts everything.
Exactly.
Ayn Rand said that was the worst kind of capitalism.
Yep.
And technically, if you want to go from a socialist definition, it's technically capitalism because it's still technically private ownership of the means of production.
Right.
That being said, since it's really government control over the means of production, it's socialism in effect, even though it's not socialism technically.
So I'm trying to bring it back to the layman for a second here. And I know the answer to this question for you, so I'm just going to try to ground you for a second here, because you're getting pretty deep into some literature that I'm aware of, but maybe some listeners are not. Do you think that the state is ever good for a nation? The idea of a state, because this is something we got into last time, as you recall.
Right.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't know if I teed that. I don't know if I teed that up properly. I was trying to make it real simple.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so the state is always bad for an economy. Let's just put it that way.
That's probably the better way to frame it. Yeah, for the economy. Okay.
The state produces nothing.
That's more what I was going for. Yes. It only takes. It doesn't provide. It can.
Yes.
It's in theory, but it's also, and it's been proven, it's never the most efficient way of providing for people. Hence why.
Right. And
I just wanted to outline that because if someone's listening to us for the last 10 minutes and they don't agree with us, I just wanted to outline why we think the state is so nefarious, because that's a presupposition we both have. But, I just wanted to outline that before we go any further.
Right. So yeah, I mean, especially on an economy, all the state can do is rob from both me and you if you sell something to me, right?
Yes, taxes, for one.
Yeah. Or prevent the transaction from even happening.
True.
Laws, regulations, tariffs, all sorts.
Straight up embargoes.
Yeah. I mean, if you have a bicycle that I'd like to buy, and the state just decides that bicycles can't be sold on the secondary market, then the only way I buy that bicycle from you is if we get creative on how to label the transaction as not a transaction, or we just do it in a clandestine manner.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that's probably the biggest issue that you're bringing up, is the fact that most people don't even if they understand, they might not get the information to them. That a lot of what happens is so backdoor alley dealing that even if you know what to look for, you're not seeing it, much less if you even know what to be looking for.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So anyways, the idea of fascism essentially is socialism that looks like capitalism.
Yes. A redistribution system that, because that's the thing, they're both redistribution systems as far as communism versus fascism, which is something we dealt with in the last century.
Right.
But the funny thing is, it's like there's a war fought over it, but ideologically, I don't think that has played out fully. Would you agree? There's not a full consensus yet, which is weird.
Well, yes, that and nearly every player that has power in this conversation is working off of the presupposition that a government needs to inflict force upon a market. Right.
Okay. No, that's a good place to start. Yeah. I that's
So
because you really can't get anywhere and can't get anywhere with someone in conversation if you both don't agree on that.
Right.
And I think that's something we've almost been indoctrinated since, and we got into this last time when we were talking about the Roosevelts and Wilson, a lot of what they did, and we almost the state of mind, there's a better word, but the state of mind, we go from this idea that the government should be providing force on the economy or even other aspects of life, masks, because we're used to it. But the funny thing is, it's like if we take a step back and go, should we be used to it? It's not a question I think people are asked all the time.
Well, right, and we're not used to asking that question,
right?
I mean,
and if you do, you're people say you're putting a tinfoil hat on. Okay, all right, you're getting a little too off reservation here.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm used to being called crazy.
Hey, I'm trying to make a brand of it, man. What are you talking about? But it really doesn't. I feel like the ironic part is that it's so in plain sight that if you think about it, the government shouldn't be providing that. It's I call the government daddy all the time as a joke, but that's the thing. It's almost like we've been raised on daddy issues as a society. And I would even not say it's not exclusive to the United States here, especially bringing up the international angle, is the Western world has been almost subjected to this idea that the government needs to be proactively, what you said, provide force upon the population. I might be paraphrasing improperly.
Right. Well, exert force.
Exerting force.
On whatever it's supposed to exert force upon, right?
Right. What do you think's a bigger issue? Because we were bringing up the economy, but would you say, well, I don't know, they kind of go hand in hand. I was going to say daily life. Because I'm trying to tie it into our time right now is all these masks. Being in Colorado, you have I think they're discussing Ohio, where I'm from. They're discussing that today. These are obvious oversteps of not economic, but these are oversteps of the government in our daily lives. First off, what do you think is more grave of an issue? Minutia of our daily lives, or like regulating the economy?
This whole daily life thing is new to my lifetime.
I can't really look back to most governments here historically don't care. When you go back,
right.
They don't want that much control. They want your money. They want they want control of the economy. But
yeah. Your money.
They care less. Exactly. They want your obedience, but they care less how you obey or how you get the money.
Right.
So for them to start, well, I guess we both go into the presupposition that the government is always trying to take from us, and that it can't be benevolent. Right. So I guess I'm just playing devil's advocate against both of us here, that they're going to say, well, are you saying that the government can't be having your best interest at heart? And I would unanimously say no. I would say it cannot operate in that way. Why would it? The only thing it would want to do is keep us alive to be able to tax farm us, but even then,
right.
It's kind of a moot point.
Right. Well, the government is always an entity that applies force. That's all it does. That's all it can do.
Mm-hmm.
Now we could have a conversation on whether or not a certain level of force is required, and that's usually where we get into the people who believe in a minimal government.
Yeah.
Who still call themselves libertarians.
Or you get into the my roads conversation.
Yes.
And
my roads, my police.
And my roads, my police. And that's why actually, what's funny is
foreign invaders.
These are the things that are all front and center in the conversation right now too. Which
right.
I mean, we mentioned it last time. I want to mention it again. It's never been a better time to be a libertarian, because last time I said most of what we get to do is just sit back and watch, because I think a lot of people are waking up to the idea that like the government shouldn't have the ability to provide. Point being, I'm going to take a step back and just rephrase this better. Is with the amount of force the government is, the new force they're exerting on the population. I think a lot of people are waking up and going, "What the hell? This ain't right." And it doesn't. It's more grassroots. You don't have to read Ron Paul to know that there's something wrong with government exerting force. You can.
Yeah.
I actually go ahead.
On my job site, I have, it's mostly Republicans, because it's blue collar, but I do have a couple of Democrats, and everybody hates all of the overstepping that's happening.
Oh yeah.
And there's a little bit of a dig on, your team is more this than my team, but everybody is in agreement.
Yeah.
That this is awful.
Well,
I think this about being a libertarian in any sort of stripe with this one is we just get to agree.
Yeah. Actually, that's the genius behind it. You're right. Is that I said we sit back, but that's a better way to put it. Is we get to sit back because we all can sit back and agree that this is not good.
Yeah.
We don't have to be splitting hairs.
Team affiliation here.
No.
And all the teams are awful.
Yep.
So everybody seems to be waking up to the fact that all the teams are awful.
Well, and the funny thing is the Libertarian Party has not done its whatever the LP is, which I've never been fond of. I know you understand a little bit more than I do, and you have a little more influence within the community than I do. But as a ideological libertarian, I've never cared about the politics of the LP. And from what I see, they are just shooting themselves in the foot every step they take. They're Barney Fifing their way down the street.
almost as if it's by design.
Those are the kind of takes I like.
The thing about the LP is hopefully we will get better leadership in there soon enough.
Are you saying Jo Jorgensen is not a good leader? It's because she's an old woman, and she's white. You're black, so you hate white women.
I don't know enough about Jo to say anything negative.
I've never heard of her, which is an issue.
That's my problem.
Yeah.
That's my problem. Going heading up to the convention, and then with her being announced as the nominee.
Yep.
I was following.
Especially so late.
Right. I was following it closely. Her name was never anywhere. You talk about Twitter. It was never anywhere.
Nope.
And then all of a sudden, it's not Hornberger. It's not Supreme. It's not Kokesh. It's it's.
Wait,
it wasn't even
Do you give Supreme any credence?
I yelled at out of it, but it wasn't like people just wrote in Amash,
Right.
So
I mean, do you give Supreme any credence within the Libertarian Party? Does he have any legitimate gravitas within that community, or no?
Within the community, yes.
Does he?
Yeah.
Gosh, I've always looked at him as a parody candidate, but that's not.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but at the same time,
I don't know.
Whenever the man opens his mouth, other than his free ponies, part of things, he's.
I don't mind. I'm not against the guy.
He's 98% great.
Yeah, I that's what I'm saying. I don't even have an issue with him. But the thing is, it's if that's who the LP is going to rally behind, we're not. If I'm going to say we're not going to win.
Yeah.
I'm talking strictly from marketability standpoint. He's not going to become the leader of the free world.
No one's voting for for Tom Bombadil to come to real life.
That's actually a really good. That's a deep cut, but a really good. And actually, that's a kind of a controversial take within the Lord of the Rings fan base, because some people don't think that Tom Bombadil deserves any. I don't know. I just had a conversation on Twitter about it the other day. Someone was bringing up Tom Bombadil.
Well, anybody who dislikes Tom Bombadil is a cretin.
Well, he's the only man to go through the Barrow Downs unscathed, man. He's essentially he's the Isha, he's the Jesus of the Lord of the Rings fanverse. I honestly think that Tolkien just added him in there because at the end he's probably, this is not how it worked out obviously, but in my head he looked at the Lord of the Rings. He's like, wow, this is too serious. Let's just put a dollop of whipped cream right there in the end. And Tom Bombadil,
right.
Right. But that is Vermin Supreme to a T. You talk about the idea of empathy, and it really he does. He would be a good candidate if he hadn't said all the things he had to get himself to that point. That's the irony of politics. I find is to become a politician, you need to sell yourself in certain ways, and if you don't do it the right way, you almost create the ceiling for yourself, and that's the issue with Vermin Supreme. To anyone who doesn't know who he is, Tom Bombadil is also a character in Lord of the Rings who. He's kind of hippie. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah.
But a Teddy Roosevelt hippie.
He's a man of the woods, literally of the woods.
Yeah, no one ever sees him.
That speaks to trees.
Yep.
And, pacifies ill spirits of the woods and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and that's what Vermin Supreme tries to be. He tries to be that nurturing father figure to all. But I don't know. The LP. To get back to you said the LP is intentionally potentially spiraling. Do you think that there's outside forces from the LP, that it's maybe a bit of a sock puppet of sorts, or do you think it's just poorly run?
I think that
because incompetence is always a good explanation. I think people don't run to that simple explanation for most things.
Right. So the Occam's razor answer is there's there are certain people in positions of power in the LP that would much rather the party be sort of a clubhouse for their friends, and they would much rather have the LP only be as relevant as being a protest vote on for people who are on one side or the other.
It's almost like actually to keep the Lord of the Rings metaphors going. It's the idea that they're not willing to sally forth. They're more of a Denethor than an Aragorn.
Right.
They want to sit back. They're like, Minas Tirith's all we need, man. We don't need to go get in Sauron. We don't need to go out there and get it. We'll just sit back. We'll be fine. We'll wait. We'll wait it out. They'll see the light eventually. The white tree will come back on its own. We don't need to go destroy evil.
Right. Well, and it's not just that. These are also people who who really dislike some of the best people in the liberty movement.
Yeah, I see. This is stuff I'm very unaware of.
Yeah, there's a ton of hate for Tom Woods, Dave Smith, the Mises Institute, Ron Paul, even Ron.
Really?
Paul. Yeah.
If you're the LP, you'd think he should be your. I said on the last podcast, your archangel of sorts. Like your
Again, he's the only
martyred saint.
Libertarian in my book.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
Whenever people say, you know, you're not a real libertarian, you know,
I would say he's the only.
The real libertarian part of things, I always just say, you know, nobody is except for Ron Paul.
Yeah.
You know? He's
the only ever American libertarian politician who actually served terms, who actually walked the walk. You know, everyone else but Ron Paul is theoretical. You know?
Right.
So that's hilarious that they wouldn't try to ally themselves with the man who's embodied the myth. I don't know. The fact that I'm still kind of trying to process how they should be kissing his feet if they actually did want, like you said, if they actually did want to be more than just a clubhouse. That's disconcerting. I'll say that.
Right. The nice thing about that is these people there aren't that many of these people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they've kind of sought out positions of power and stuff like that, but there aren't that many of these people.
No.
There's much more, principled, liberty-minded people out there, and there seems to be a growing support for trying to take back the party of Rothbard. So,
did Rothbard actually start the LP?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Here in Colorado.
Oh, that's sad. That's sad. Well, it's sad. It's not sad that it happened in Colorado. I'm saying it's sad that he started it and is where it's at. To clarify,
it's sad that the state of Colorado is where it's at.
That's true too. Well, you guys are probably getting an invasion of Californians, so maybe I'll move out there next year and I'll offset the Californians. I'll give you guys a dose of Ohio.
There we go.
I don't know. Does Ohio balance out the scale, or do we make it worse? Do we just join the Californians in fucking up what Colorado naturally is? Well, I mean, you're a transplant too, so I can't even talk to you like you're you might embody the Colorado ideals, but you're also a transplant.
I am a transplant. Yep.
So, but there's nothing wrong with that either. There's no
Depends on who you ask here.
Oh, really? I believe that. But that's the cultural appropriation argument, which I think is so stupid. I think it's so stupid.
I made a couple of jokes with my friends when I first moved here, and I finally got Colorado plates.
Okay.
I said, now that I have Colorado plates, I can put that Colorado native bumper sticker on there.
If you're anything like me, I'm sure there's at least 3 people who'd hate you for doing that.
My friends were they didn't know whether to laugh or not.
Did you actually put that on your car? Or no?
No, I haven't.
Okay, but it's still fun. It's still funny either way.
The idea because it was such a good troll in real life. So.
Well, I used to roll with a Bernie bumper sticker on my car, even past 2016.
Really?
Oh yeah, I was a Bernie guy. And the thing is, even after my turn from whatever, I think there was a light in Bernie at some point. But whenever it flickered out, man, I kept it rolling just because I thought it was hilarious. Like, just the meme it became is like that idea that, I don't know, both of us, and the thing is, just to go back to Twitter, is like, the people who are willing to troll to me, I support. I'm all for it. You know, you look at a lot of the best accounts on Twitter, they will constantly say things that are not exactly what they believe just to make sure they're separating the chaff from the wheat. You know, because if you get these people who are these emotional, honestly, I would argue this is more leftist than anything, is if you read everything you like, as far as being a sheep, is if every single tweet you read, you're like, this is the absolute truth and it can't be rhetoric, it can't be anything. That's the issue. And the thing is, as someone posting content, you want those people gone anyway. So if you're going to get all these people getting outraged because you say one thing that steps out of line from everything you do, you're doing yourself a favor by having them unfollow you or whatever it may be. But the funny thing is that the controversy that drums up only breeds more success out of everyone else, I feel like. And that's one thing I don't always have the energy for on Twitter, to be honest with you. It's like playing those games. It has been fun, but man, sometimes it's just, I don't know. You stay pretty true to your core. You don't really get rhetorical very often.
I do at times.
You do at times, but a lot of times I don't know. I don't know. I didn't really think. I guess I'm now asking you to give yourself a Twitter report card, which I wasn't. I didn't realize I was getting ready to do. I'm sure you know my talking style. I'm very Kanye in that. I don't always have an agenda. I'm just kind of having a fluid thought. So, but I mean, right. Do you try to consider yourself? Would you consider yourself a liberal on Twitter or a conservative as far as the way you tweet? I would argue that you're a conservative based off what. That's not to say that you can't be liberal in what the things you do, but your full body of work, I would say you're more of a conservative.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, I don't really consider myself a conservative just because I don't really.
I'm saying conservative to your message. I'm not saying I'm not tying. Okay. I'm talking purely definition conservative, not any tie-in to Republicans. Any of that, I'm saying your style of tweeting is more conservative. You don't like the trepidation. You stay, and I don't even say like a bad thing. I think it actually provides a little more stability to your audience. See, I'm a liberal on Twitter. I can say fuck my audience. Like I've had tweets where I literally lose like 20 people in like a day. I'm like, and I only have like 700 people. So I'm like, well, that was bad. But the thing is, I'm like, I don't care anyway. Like I stand by why I posted it.
I'll lose 20 people in a day as well, but I always assume it's just because, most of my friends get banned.
Oh. Oh, yeah. I didn't even think. Does that count? Do you lose follower counts by people getting banned?
I think so.
Oh. See, maybe that was me judging the thunder as a sign from God.
No,
maybe I tweeted and thought my tweet was the reason.
Nobody follows you on Twitter without the speech.
Without telling you?
Yes.
Oh, I unfollow people all the time without telling them. But
yeah, well, but
maybe I'm weird. Okay, I'll take that. Yeah.
Everybody else on Twitter, like the reason they're on Twitter is to antagonize, like.
Oh,
why unfollow without telling them exactly?
No, man.
To every jot and tittle what then it was.
I have one word for why I am on Twitter: anthropology.
Ah.
That's it, man. I don't need to know. I'm not that vain. I'm pretty vain, but I'm not that vain. I don't need you to know. In fact, here's the thing. The reason I don't tell people I unfollow them is because there's a good chance I might follow you back in a month. I don't know. I don't want to be that stupid looking. That's the main thing. It's like, oh, I just unfollowed you. And then you realize that what you did it for was, like, dumb. Which, right. for me, I'm weird. I do. I'll like, not like your AVI at the time and the way it ties into what you were saying. That might be the reason why I unfollowed you. It's like, it doesn't have to be anything good. So
Yeah.
the idea of telling you like, I just unfollowed you because blah 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 blah, it's just such a weird projection of ego that makes everyone look bad. Like I don't see one scenario where that's like a good thing besides just masturbatory need to be validated on the internet. Like
Yeah. I mean, really, it's impotence. Impotence signaling. You know, like they can't really do anything about it, so you know they're just gonna whine at you and then unfollow you and maybe block you.
Impotence signaling. I like that. Impotence signaling. No, it's not yours, dude. No. Hold on. Keep rolling with that. That's one of the things. I got a whiteboard here. I'm writing that one down. That's something I'm keeping. Impotencing. Where'd you get that from, if you don't mind me asking?
I think I got it from Michael Malice.
See, where do you normally consume his content? Is he a solely audio podcast, or I like the guy. I've seen him on other people's shows, but I've never listened to his show. I like the way he tweets.
He has 2 shows.
Okay.
He has an interview show called You're Welcome.
Okay.
YOUR.
Yep.
And
what platform though?
He has the most recent ones for free on YouTube.
Really?
And then he has Nightshade, which is on Compound Media, and he has clips from that are free on YouTube.
See, that's something I should probably do, because there's a few times you and a few other people have mentioned Malice, and I like the guy, but I've never really actively looked for his content.
Yeah, he's fantastic. I consume all of his media.
All right,
I just the Negro and Hubris.
Well,
it's like $200 on the internet.
Well, a man's got to he's got to get his bread some way, and right. Just because you're not a client or a customer doesn't mean it's not worth you having. Well, I mean, that's the thing is like I'm a big Joe Rogan guy, and I don't use On It. I don't do any of the paid stuff he does. Do you?
On It, I got some On It stuff.
Do you?
It's all great stuff.
I've heard it's good stuff. I'm just poor.
I have these really badass kettlebells.
Really? Well, I was talking more of the supplements. I'm sure the kettlebells are good too, but
yeah. The supplements are great too.
I've heard good things. The thing is, I'm just too poor. How about this? If I could market it in some way and they would give me stuff for free, I would plug it as much as possible. I'll tell you that. But that's the thing is like, I don't know if I got to buy it of my. I'd rather market it than be a customer. I'll put it that way. So, yeah. Well, actually, we're at hour and 15 minutes. I had a couple other things I jotted down to discuss, but we can call it. I don't know. It's up to you. How are you looking on time?
Yeah. Let's go like another 15.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Well, one of the things I wanted to discuss was a tweet that I'd put out that got a little bit of love, but I haven't been getting much traction anyway. But it was the idea of compelled versus enforced action, and I think that and actually I think one of your I think you retweeted it, and I think one of your followers mentioned the tie into parenting. Which that's one of my favorite things about Twitter in general is the idea that, like a thought I wasn't even thinking of it from the parenting lens, but obviously a parent did. So I think that it's a perfect example, especially with the daddy metaphor to the state, that compelling your citizenship to do something is much more powerful and effective than enforcing it. Like we're saying the idea of well, I mean we're kind of circling the drain on some points we were making earlier, but that's why I want to tie it in. Is the moment you get someone to think that the idea is their own, like a child, you convince them that they want to clean their room. You don't tell them to clean their room. It's so much more powerful because now you don't have to look over it, and that's the issue I think we're having with a lot of these enforcements lately. Is the worst part about these sweeping mandates is that now you've put more work on your table because now you have to worry about enforcement. While if you naturally compel someone to do what you're trying to do, you don't have to worry about that at all because they are their own police. It's the whole libertarian argument wrapped up in a nutshell. So I don't know. I was just gonna. I guess I talked myself out of it, but we already kind of made the point. What's your take on that? Are there maybe other instances of natural compulsion to do something versus inorganic force that you can think of that might maybe drive it home for people who haven't been red-pilled libertarian by the end of this podcast?
Right. Well, so I think to sort of
Yellow-pilled.
belabor a point, the reason why the state has to do this is that all of our institutions of trust right now have their bank account is low. They don't have any trust.
Yeah.
The
and a
trust
little
in the corporate press has been going away ever since Jon Stewart started making fun of Fox News, right?
Yeah.
And now more than ever, we can see exactly how snide and vindictive and unremarkable these people are anyways.
Well,
right?
have you listened to any of Jon Stewart's recent interviews too? He's brutally aware of what the state of things are. He was on Rogan recently, and it's almost as if I didn't really consider that a point of demarcation but you're right. He kind of did. He opened up a floodgate that it seems like he's now like, I don't know because everyone compares all these woke late night shows. They're trying to compare themselves to The Daily Show. But the thing is, none of them, they might think they're living out the legacy of The Daily Show, but I watched The Daily Show. It was good. Even the Colbert Report was very good. Right. But when Colbert made the jump to MSM, lost everything. Even I can't watch Comedy Central anymore now. Like, all the stuff they have on there is garbage. But what do you think is really symptomatic there? 'Cause I'm trying to reason out myself. Like, what changed? Because there's something, Jon Stewart, is it strictly his talent, or is maybe some ethical code he lived by when making jokes or when presenting content to people?
I think Jon Stewart. Well, first of all, I think Jon Stewart just is a talented comedian, but I think he was the perfect thing for that George W. Bush era Fox News. That's
a good thing. The context is very important.
Right. America waking up to the fact that we sold our liberties and we brutalized a nation over nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, not to 9/11 nothing, but the weapons of mass destruction was nothing.
Agreed.
Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. So we destroy this this other nation just because the government wanted to.
Yeah.
And
he's made that his work. I'm saying he's a big, because he's being a New Yorker. He's
right.
He took it personally. Is all I'm saying.
Right. And the mouthpiece, the salesman for this was essentially Fox News.
Yeah.
And so Jon Stewart making fun of Fox News and pointing out the fact that the corporate press lies.
Yep.
That those who are in power will do nefarious things to stay in power. That little mind worm.
That should be a unifying force, though. I feel like this, maybe that's a sign of hope for the future. Not to cut you off completely, but I just see a vein of white pill, as you coined last time. Actually, to bring that back, is that you'd think that everything coming full circle now, and having Jon Stewart tackle Fox News for their improprieties while Bush was in office. And now you'd think that people are waking up to the idea of CNN. Wouldn't maybe there needs to be like a reminder? It's like, this is where we were when the state was doing this, and this is where we're at when, there's a lot of similarity there, and I feel like it should be a unifying rallying call when in reality I feel like we have like memory loss. Realistically, I forgot that Stewart, most of his jokes were a punching bag on the Bush administration, but like it's the partisanship that Stewart never had. You know.
Well, he was a partisan. He just was a different type of partisan.
Well, that's what I mean. Not to say he wasn't a partisan. He was a partisan who understood he couldn't use his partisanship while on air, or else he would alienate the people. Well, one, the quality of his show, but he would also alienate the people who like his show. I've heard him say in interviews, he's cognizant of it. He doesn't want to outdo his own bias.
Right. I mean, I just, without belaboring the point, I guess my point with Jon Stewart was that he was so effective at pointing out media malfeasance that it's taken now. Gosh, how many years?
2020,
almost 20.
Yeah.
And we realized that not just the specific targets that he started, but everybody in the corporate press, is they're just not trustworthy and not respectable people, and that's the light way of putting it. The better way of putting it is that they're the enemy of the people.
Well, and I think the funny part is now is we're living in this world where I think more and more people are starting to, like you said, lose that trust in them, but also there's this weird group of people who still believe in the institutions in some weird way. And the thing is, it's a fragmented. It's like there's no one news you go to anymore. Like say 100 years ago. There's only a few news sources, and they're all kind of telling the same message, just from a different lens. Now everything's so spread out, and so.
Well, it wasn't even 100 years ago. I mean, it was 30 years ago.
Right. Well, might as well. I was born in '92. Might as well be. So I'm just going back to when it was really like during the World War era. You couldn't step that far out of line for the sake of the country. Like, we're at World War. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up about your liberal fucking fantasies. We don't have time for that. We're in a production. We're doing whatever. We all agree we should be at war. That was one of the things Stewart got into. He's like, maybe we shouldn't be at war, and he was right.
Right. So I think because not only is there a distrust of media, but there's also a growing distrust of government as well. Yes. That can be directly traced back to 9/11.
Completely. And I don't think we haven't recovered from that yet.
Right. So now the two things that we're supposed to have trust in, are news media that's supposed to be delivering us facts. And in our government that's supposed to be protecting us
and serving,
we don't trust either.
Yeah,
and so them trying to make us believe that wearing that you should wear a mask
is in your best interest.
Well, it's becoming weaker and weaker and weaker. It's no longer my idea. It's some jerk-off governor's idea, right?
Well, and when you understand the idea that he just doesn't want to be caught without a chair at the end of the what the hell is that game called? Wow, that was
when the music stops.
Yeah. I can't even think of the name of that game.
Chairs?
Musical chairs. Yeah, he doesn't want to be left without a chair at the end of the game. That's one thing I don't hear discussed enough about the whole idea of the state is that you have who said it, that states in theory are perfect. It's the people who run them that are fallible. I think it sounds very Marxy, but whatever, it don't matter. The thing is, you have people like
disagree, but whatever.
No. I don't even say it as it's something that's been said.
In theory, it's just the official organized crime ring, but
Right. Well, I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it as belief, but more the idea that even if you have this idealistic view of a state, that even if you're going to come from that angle, you still have to admit that your idealism will always be limited by the people implementing it. And that's an argument I've heard with the lefties I talk to, that they're like, well, the state, we never tried true communism or whatever the fuck. You can go down that. But it's like, well, at the end of the day, even if you want to try to make it perfect, like I'll say, I'm ceding the ground that, let's say the state is perfect. It's still run by imperfect people. And that being said, is you have these governors who are worried about the death toll. They're worried about this more than they're worried about everything else. The thing is, they don't want to be caught at the end of the dance without a date. They don't want to be caught at the end of musical chairs. They don't want to be holding a hot potato when, everything's going to shit. And that's more of an issue than anything, because the reason I brought it up is you mentioned the well-being of the citizen. That's not their concern. Their concern is how it looks for their political legacy.
Right, and that's why everybody's praising Governor Cuomo.
Yeah.
Even though his state has had the worst response to this.
Did you hear what he said? I don't know if it was yesterday or today, but he went out and said, it was on a press conference. He went out and said that we're experiencing, I forget how he phrased it. We're experiencing more people coming to New York now because we're the safe place. Quote, we're the safe place. Dude, okay. What are you talking about? You guys were ground zero. Like, you guys' numbers were the first ones that were off the charts.
Do they still have more deaths than every other place in the nation?
That'd be interesting. Honestly, I don't like looking at the graphs right now.
I think they did hold that for a while.
Oh, did they? Oh, no, yeah. I'm pretty sure they held that for a significant amount of time early on. I have no idea where it's at now. In fact, I've had so many graphs and numbers shoved in my face, I don't even look at them anymore. To me, I've taken the ostrich angle. I'm just burying my head in the sand, and I'm like, you know what? I'll take the anecdotal experience. I'll listen to enough people. Once enough people I trust have something to say, then I'll maybe put my hat in the ring. But until then, there's so much disinformation now. It's like, it's not even worth steel manning either side that this is a real issue or that's not a real issue. There's just too much being said.
Right. Which goes back to my point where you can't just inherently trust. Now, I'd argue you never could.
No.
But we didn't know that.
Right.
You can't just inherently. You can't even inherently trust someone who's giving you supposedly raw data.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially with this COVID thing.
Yep.
Well,
yeah.
So the government has to be heavy-handed. Because they have no trust to make it your idea.
Yeah.
The only people who believe it now are the people who still believe that these
institutions are trustworthy. They're to me, right. I'd take a step further. You're saying that they're trustworthy. My thing is that they're a viable method of communicating information anymore. It's like, once because you have to trust them, but I'm wondering, I'm like, do we need to restructure the way we get our news to people? Because thing is, it's so easy to see who's a Fox News watcher, who's a CNN watcher. I mean, right. I try to be a paradoxical nature for one, but two, I don't want you to know what I'm consuming or what I'm thinking or anything like that, mainly because it's still TBD. I'm a moderate at the end of the day. I like to look at things with a fresh perspective. And when you can be so blatantly to one side of like where you're consuming your information, that's the biggest issue I see. Is when when a stranger can peg you in less than 3 minutes on exactly where you're getting your news, that's an issue.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that I'd be interested to see how that works for people who are, younger than 40 and have above average plus IQs.
Yeah, I see that for that demographic. I think the social pressure is more important than the logical. The need to be the need to be included is more important than the need to be right, and that for that demographic.
Sure. I guess my point is, if you get older than 40, you can still run across people who are just like, well, I just get my news from these two sources. They're the two sources that I trust.
I've been doing it for years. Now,
and if it ain't broke,
yep, exactly.
So you get your Fox and Breitbarts, you get your Hill and Wall Street Journals, it doesn't necessarily have to be directly right wing or left wing or anything like that.
At the end of the day, man, people still subscribe to the Washington Post and New York Times.
Right. Despite evidence that they should just be ignoring both of those publications.
I mean, I the funniest thing is, like, I know not to listen to them, but it's been so many examples. I can't. There's not like one shining jewel where I'm like, there's this example of exactly what honestly, I feel like I could just Google it now and be like, okay, this one, all these dumb stories. They do the shotgun method where it's like they might have like one on point subject, but like 80% of what they run is pure trash anymore.
Right.
And if you do have this, like you said, that kind of, I don't know, for lack of a better, boomer attitude of, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, maybe it's broken. You're not paying attention.
Maybe it's always been broken. You're just used to it being broken.
Better, even better. Yeah. Maybe you're just used to it being broken. That's a better example. Yeah. Yeah. Well, shit, man. That's it's kind of glum mentality from that perspective. But my thing is, I hope. Well,
people are losing respect.
I was gonna say I hold out.
And this is a very, very good and healthy thing.
Yes. Well, that's going to say, I think it needs to get a little more darker. That's all I was going to say. I think people haven't really seen how nefarious they can be. I've had enough examples, but obviously, and this is one thing I've been wanting to, like, I have some friends of mine that we can't discuss politics, and the one thing I want to ask them is, like, what's the one thing you need to see? What's the one thing you need to hear? What's the one thing that will change your shift where you stop trusting the institutions? That's the main crux of divisiveness we have, is that I am apprehensive, they are trusting,
Right.
And can you think of anything? Can you think of a silver bullet that would sway them? Because to me, it's something that has to happen over time. It can't be like one occurrence.
Oh, I think any time that your worldview completely shifts, it's usually off of one event, and then you look back to find other correlating events.
That's true.
I
mean, the Trump presidency.
I would not be able to tell anybody that one event.
I would argue that the Trump presidency was probably one of the best examples for everyone. Not like any group in particular. Like, the fact that he was able to use Twitter and everything the way he did to become president only shows how illegitimate all these people and their avenues of discourse are. So, well, I don't know, man. This has been pretty good. I think we got a lot of good stuff out there, and I don't know. Anything else you'd like to plug? We plugged you once last time, but we kind of have to retread. So at the bottom, right under your name, we have @theJonathon, and obviously my Twitter handle if you want to consume more of what this man has to say. I've been following you for a couple of years now. Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been.
Yeah, we've been friends for a couple of years, I think.
Are we friends? It's Twitter. We follow each other. Facebook is for friends. I'm kidding. I do consider you a friend. It's good to.
Facebook's for your like drunk aunt and her weird rambling.
That's what it's become. And the groups have only made it worse that I've found. There's what I'm hearing about what the little echo chambers forming in these Facebook groups. It's that's the opposite of what we're talking about. Put it that way.
Yeah, I only go on to Facebook to be disappointed with people I knew in high school. That's the only reason I go there.
I'd say it's probably very effective. I don't know what you're looking at, but I would imagine the results are probably exactly what you'd be looking for.
Yeah.
So with that being said, anything else you'd like to plug? I just want to plug your handle real quick. Yeah.
No, just find me on Twitter.
Supportive Kings. That was one of the takeaways we had last time that we never brought up.
Right.
We don't need to get into it big, but how about maybe bookmark for another discussion at whenever, because this will always be something worth discussing.
Yes.
That men not tearing each other down. The idea of find someone you agree with, support them, treat them like the king. That's actually a perfect example of what we do.
Yeah. So I would say find someone you appreciate, either
Mm-hmm.
in real life or on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're in a lockdown, so a bunch of us don't have IRL friends. Uh, but
Yeah.
uh, but find somebody you appreciate and compliment them.
Mm.
And by the way, if you guys do like trolls, this is a very good natured troll. You find somebody you like and give them a very uh, heartfelt, out of the blue compliment.
Ooh.
And then when they try to deflect, and when they try to say, oh, it's not that big of a deal or anything like that, double down. Make them
That's
uncomfortable at first, but it'll be good for them.
that's almost so kind of evil, man. You talk about the horseshoe theory. That's well, from I don't know. To me,
It's a ton of fun.
that would drive. I don't want you discussing that on my podcast because I feel like that's an open season for people to do that shit to me. Do not do it to me. Do it to people you don't. Do that to people you want to troll. All right, man. So, well, stay up, Kings. Glad you're able to check it out. We'll have you. Well, I'll talk to you on Twitter, man. Peace.
Cool.